We're talking about U.S. military strikes inside Venezuela just hours ago. Let's break down everything we know as this situation unfolds.
And it all kicked off with this. An absolute bombshell of an announcement on Truth Social. President Trump himself confirming not just a major strike, but the almost unbelievable news that President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were captured. This instantly set off a global crisis.
So what exactly happened on the ground? Let's try to piece together the first moments of this military operation based on the early reports.
Now, let's be really clear about this. This was not a rumor, not a small skirmish. U.S. officials confirmed it directly to CBS News. These were deliberate military strikes ordered from the very top. It's a massive, massive escalation in the U.S. campaign against the Maduro regime.
And when you look at the initial targets reported by opposition sources, you can see this was a highly strategic plan. It looks like they were trying to cut the head off the snake, so to speak, hitting the main army base, the primary air base right there in Caracas, a key communications hub and a major seaport.
The official U.S. reaction? It came just as fast. The State Department immediately told any Americans in the country to take cover, and the FAA declared a total no-fly zone for civilian planes. The message was unmistakable. This situation is incredibly dangerous.
But, an attack like this doesn't just happen out of the blue. To really get what's going on today, you have to look back at the last few months, because there has been a steady buildup of military pressure leading right to this point. Just look at this timeline. You can see the deliberate ramp-up, plain as day. It started at sea back in September with these deadly strikes on so-called drug boats. Then in December, the U.S. started seizing Venezuelan oil tankers. Then, right before the new year, a dock area got hit. And now, the whole thing is moved from sea to land with direct strikes on Venezuelan soil.
And this whole escalation was backed by an incredible deployment of military hardware. We're talking about 15,000 U.S. troops in the area, a naval armada with 11 ships, led by the aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford, dozens of fighter jets parked in Puerto Rico, and Special Forces aircraft moved in, all of it just sitting there in the Caribbean waiting for the green light.
Okay, so what's the official story here? What's the justification for such a massive military intervention? Let's take a look at the case the Trump administration is building.
The entire argument really hinges on this one specific term, narcoterrorism. And this is so important. The administration isn't just saying Maduro is a drug trafficker. They are alleging he used cocaine as a weapon to hurt the United States. That specific wording changes everything.
And to build that case, they're pointing to a few key things. A 2020 indictment against Maduro for this very crime, accusations that he's working with known terrorist groups, and the claim that he uses violent street gangs to hold on to power and cause chaos in the region.
And hey, if you had any doubt at all about who the #1 target was, just look at this number. The U.S. had a massive reward out for his arrest, and they recently doubled it to $50 million. It really couldn't be any clearer that this was all about him.
As you can probably guess, the reactions to the strikes were instant and intense, and deep, deep divisions started showing up right away, not just around the world, but right here at home.
Inside Venezuela, the government's official response was a call to arms, basically. They immediately called it an imperialist attack and urged their supporters to pour into the streets and fight back.
And of course, Venezuela's closest ally, Cuba, was one of the first to chime in. President Miguel Diaz-Canel just slammed the strikes, calling it state terrorism against the people of Venezuela. But back in Washington, totally different story. It was anything but unified. You had key voices from both sides of the aisle immediately raising huge legal questions. Democrat Ruben Gallego flat out called it an illegal war, while Republican Mike Lee was publicly wondering what the constitutional justification could possibly be for this. But, and this is a really big but, this reveals just how divided Venezuela itself is. In an interview just a few weeks back, a major opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, said she would welcome more and more pressure to get Maduro out. It's a stark reminder that some people inside Venezuela might actually be in favor of this U.S. action.
So, where does that leave us? Well, the truth is, this is just the beginning of a crisis that is unfolding by the minute. President Trump is scheduled to speak to the world in just a few hours. So the biggest question on everyone's mind is pretty simple. What on earth happens next?